Hey everyone, welcome back. So today we're going to be taking a look at the upcoming Guild Wars 2 End of Dragon expansion. I was fortunate enough to be invited to a preview event to check it out early. Also, this video is sponsored by Guild Wars 2. They asked me just to share with you a sneak peek at some of the newest features and content that I saw. Basically, we sat down for about an hour and a half with some of the developers that work on the game, and they walked us through a few different things, and that's pretty much what I'll be showing you and sharing with you here in today's video. Okay, so for starters, they gave us all access to these special accounts that had a level 80 of every class available. Now, last year when I revisited Guild Wars 2 in my own spare time, I did spend the most time playing on an engineer, so I figured that made the most sense to play here, as it's the class I was most familiar with. So I got to try out the newest elite specialization that's coming in End of Dragons for the engineer, which is the mechanist. Now, besides being able to wield a one-handed mace, as well as getting access to the new skills that come with that, I also get this little jade mech robot companion that fights by my side. He's got a few different abilities, and you can actually alter the way they function, changing them, but more or less he fires green plasma lasers, or he can be like melee focused, I think, something like that. He seems pretty cool. I have no idea how good or not this spec is going to be, but it was fun to play around with. So once everyone showed up for the event, we got started with our very first task, which was to capture the new guild hall. So this is called the Isle of Reflections. It's basically just the new gathering spot for guilds in the game. And in order to gain access to it, you have to first complete this event. The hall is, I guess, full of squatters that need to be kicked out. And by kicked out, I mean destroyed. So we started out on this dock. We took a boat to get just outside of the entrance to the hall. And then after talking to an NPC, we made our way inside and we just start clearing through some basic enemies. One interesting note here too, though, is that apparently the entire event will be scaling to your group size. I guess this hasn't been the case with prior hall capture events. I don't really play with people whenever I revisit Guild Wars 2, so I haven't done any of these in the past, but that evidently made it difficult for smaller guilds to complete. But now with this scaling system in this new guild hall, smaller guilds of even just a couple of players are said to be able to finish it without much of an issue. So yeah, we just had some basic enemies to fight. We kept on pushing through those groups. It was all pretty straightforward stuff. Large groups of enemies, lots of AoE skills and particle effects all over the place. We made our way over this bridge, up a rocky path, and then finally entered the first section of the guild hall. Here we cleared through several more groups of enemies. We pushed further in, and then we reached the first of 3 mini bosses. As a collective, these are called the Purist Lieutenants, and each of them are actually modeled after some of the new elite specs that are coming in with the expansion. So the first boss was the Spectre. She had a bunch of these shadow abilities like death whirlpools and stuff like that. Then the second lieutenant was the Mind Blade, who had these psionic blades that you could call in from the sky, and also some little AoE explosions on the ground. And the last lieutenant was the Enforcer, who could teleport, had these dual blading swords, and then also would put exploding debuffs on a few members of your party who would then have to, run out of the group so as not to damage everybody. These were pretty straightforward fights. I think each of them lasted like roughly 5 minutes. I don't know if that's the duration is because of the group size that we had. I don't know if it'd be shorter or longer depending on how many people are in your group, but yeah, it took about 5 minutes each for us to kill these. And then after clearing the 3, I guess, mini boss lieutenants is what we'll call them, we made our way to the very center of the guild hall for the final big boss fight. And this was against the Ritualist. Tons of AoE to dodge here. He would call down lightning strikes periodically on top of everyone in the group is what it looked like. So basically wherever you were standing, there would be a lightning call and you would have to move away from it. And then he would teleport to the edge of this platform that you were fighting on, while at the same time summoning these ghosts that would explode after roughly like 5 seconds. So basically what you would have to do is you'd find where he teleported and try to get to him as quickly as possible, because these explosions would cover pretty much the entire platform except for directly next to him. And then what would happen is right after that, he would do his lightning strike again, and they would just fill up everywhere that we were standing, forcing us to fan out before converging back on the boss. It was pretty cool. A simple fight in terms of mechanics, but this isn't some big end game thing. It's just kind of an event for accessing the guild hall. Now, to my disappointment, after all of that work, I had 30 minutes of fighting these hordes of enemies and defeating these bosses, we actually weren't able to capture and check out the guild hall. I think this was due to the fact that they were holding other events throughout the course of the day, and they didn't want to mess it it up by capturing the hull, making it so that they weren't able to clear through it again with those other groups. This was a tad bit of a shame. You know, I would have liked to see the cinematic, but even more so, I would have liked to just walk around the captured hull by myself to check out like the different things that you could do in the NPCs, but oh well, that just wasn't part of what this preview event was meant to be. I guess I'll get to do that at launch. So after completing that guild hall capture event, they took us to this nearby coastal village with the intent of showing off fishing and checking out what are these in-game fishing tournaments. Unfortunately, that didn't quite pan out. So this event was held on this preview version client of the expansion, and evidently most of us didn't have the necessary prerequisites to start fishing, so I actually didn't get to try out fishing for myself. I think some players were able to. There were some people who could fish. You know, it's fishing. It's pretty straightforward. We have seen this as well in like the preview streams and videos that they've released. You'll have a fishing pole, you'll cast out a line, and you'll catch some fish, and then you'll use that fish for some like crafting recipes or something. I did, however, get to check out the skiffs, which are like directly related to the fishing system. Some other players summoned them in, and I was able to jump in, and it's just like a group mount boat, and you'll be able to take these out onto the waters in the game to fish at some high value locations. There'll be areas where you'll be more likely to get like better fish at. And they also have this cool system where riders in the boat can use these emotes, which will refill the boat's stamina meter, I guess letting you go quicker. I think that's kind of a neat idea. Most of us weren't able to fish here, so once they figured that out, that fishing wasn't going to happen, we then moved on to the third part of this preview, and this was participating in this big public event that was meant to showcase the new Siege Turtle group mount. Now, we had to use these turtles and just move in as a group. I think I stayed on foot, but we moved in. There were turtles everywhere, launching mortars or something, and we had to attack this fort. So first we had to destroy some generators. There were 2 on the outside, and then we moved in and destroyed 2 generators on the inside. And then we fought our way into the fort through this facility where I think they were like running some Jade Tech experiments. You know, there are a bunch of people doing bad experiments or something. And it ended with this boss fight against some like sentient AI. I thought this was kind of funny. We were literally fighting against like a computer terminal. This is apparently supposed to be quite a difficult fight, they told us as well, but for the sake of the event, you know, they've got a limited window, people of a variety of experience and a variety of skill. They made us a little overpowered so that we could clear this on our first try as a group of a bunch of randos, basically. I do sort of wish they just let us experience the hard version and we were just to wipe here and then like end on that note. But it's okay, I get it. They want people to have like a good experience, especially if they're not familiar, you know, with this game. And I'm not the most, like, I'm not a Guild Wars 2 veteran, but I do like the game and I do come back pretty much every year to check it out. So it was cool to get to see this either way. But yeah, that was pretty much it. After we defeated the computer, the event came to a close. I spent a little bit of time walking around. I wanted to play a little bit around with my engineer mechanist, but pretty much left shortly after that. All in all, it was neat to get a chance to see some of the new stuff that's coming with the expansion. I am looking forward to diving in for real once it launches next week. I'm not sure yet which class I will want to play. I think the engineer mechanist spec seems cool, but I also normally don't play pet classes in MMOs, so I might try out something else. I may check out like the Guardian or the Warrior or the Thief or something. I'm not sure yet. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this sneak peek at some of what's coming in Guild Wars 2 End of Dragons. Thanks again to ArenaNet for sponsoring this video, and of course, as always, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.